Before we go into some introductions, firstly, welcome everyone. Today's consulting stream. My name is Taylor. I work here at Prosper and will be facilitating the consulting stream today. Before we crack into some intros, I'd just quickly like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today. I'd like to pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. Without further ado, we will jump into a bit of an agenda in terms of what to expect today. So I might just bring up my screen here. So for it's a bit of an icebreaker to start off today. Feel free to spam the chat in terms of where you're tuning in from. Universities use that chat box. We want to make it as interactive as possible today. Some advice: listen and participate. Feel free to use the Q&A feature as much as possible to obviously ask your questions. And the more questions, the merrier, so we can all learn from each other here. And for all of the speakers in the consulting stream today, apply to their open roles. They'll be on Great Australia and the Prosper Network, so check them out, apply for those roles. Got a few people, WA, Perth, awesome. Welcome everyone today. Just a little bit about Prosper. So we are a bit of an all-in-one career directory where we help students sort of learn about internships and graduate programs, explore various job openings, and sort of discuss higher studying opportunities. So we're quite extensive, a lot of resources that we can help with from company profiles, so advice, opportunities, content like reviews and profiles, just so you get a good understanding about the different opportunities and what they look like too. In terms of jobs, feel free, as I said, to jump onto Great Australia, have a look at the jobs from our amazing speakers and panelists today, and apply now. Feel free to save them as bookmarks too, and just learn more about the opportunities available as well. And that being said, we're pretty international. Obviously, we've got Australia, Great Australia, but also in New Zealand, Philippines, India, etc. as well. So we're quite extensive for if there's any. Not sure if there's any international students online. Oh, see someone tuning in from Indonesia. So there you go, bit of a relevant to you. But with that being said, I might just stop sharing my screen here and see a bit of an agenda. So today, as I said, we've got the consulting stream. We'll be starting off by hearing from our 4 amazing panelists. And I might just spotlight myself as well, so I'm not hidden amongst everyone here. Awesome, that's better. Yeah, so we've got the consulting stream. We'll be hearing from our panelists, which I'll introduce shortly. After our 40-minute panel session, we'll be having a series of presenter blocks, so 18-minute presentations. We'll be hearing from Capgemini, Tata Consulting Services, Genpact, and Wipro. So exciting lineup today. And as I said before, spam that Q&A chat. We want to have as much questions as possible and always happy to answer them. And we'll be keeping an eye on the questions throughout too. That being said, got that out of the way, which is good. I'd like to welcome our 4 panelists today. So we've got James from Capgemini, we've got Caitlin from Accenture, we've got Vaibhavi from Publicis Sapient, we've got Sarab from Genpact. So we might go around the virtual room. If all of you want to, James, I might start with you. Introduce yourself and a little bit about your organization.
Hi guys, I'm James. I'm the graduate program manager at Capgemini. Capgemini is a global consulting firm. We do mostly IT, technology, and management consulting services.
Awesome, thanks, James. Caitlin, might pass the virtual mic to you.
Hi everyone, I'm Caitlin. I'm from Accenture. I joined Accenture as an analyst a year ago. So basically, Accenture is a company that's known for its diverse range of business service offerings in 5 major practices, being strategy, management, interactive, technology, and operations consulting. Though many people haven't heard much about the brand Accenture, the name Accenture, there's not a day in Australia that you can go without interacting with one of our clients, making a phone call, using your internet, mailing a package, or even using your bank account. So yeah.
There you go, use all round. Awesome, thanks Caitlin, good to have you here. Vaibhavi, I might hand to you next for some intros.
Thanks, Taylor. Hi, everyone. I'm Vaibhavi Palan. I'm a senior strategy consultant at Publicis Sapient. We are a global kind of full service digital transformation firm. So we do a lot of really cool things ranging from helping businesses define their strategy, their customer experience design, managing their products, all the way through to implementation and technology build with our engineering team. I have personally been with Sapient for 3 years now, and I started as a graduate, so I can very much relate to a lot of people on this call, and just excited to be here. Thanks, Taylor.
Oh, good. Thank you for sharing. Coming in as a graduate too, that's always good to see. And last but not least, Saurabh, throw it to you.
Great. Hi, everyone. I'm Saurabh and I'm part of Genpact. So Genpact is a professional services firm delivering transformation services across all verticals and domains. And these services include, digital services, advisory services, technology offerings, and providing an end-to-end transformation support depending on the client and industry that we're focusing on. I've been with Genpact for a while, about close to 15, 16 years, most of these years into data and analytics. And in my current role based in Sydney, I lead the data and analytics delivery for Australia for banking and financial services vertical.
Awesome. Oh, well, good to have you all here. Thanks for the intros. I've prepared a couple questions to ask the panelists, but in saying that, as I said before, use the Q&A chat and we'll get to your questions throughout as well. So to kick things off, I might ask yourself first, Caitlin. You got that mic unmuted, so I feel like you're quite eager to answer this first question. What is your most important piece of advice you'd give to students aspiring to work for an organization within the consulting sector?
I did go for it because I also joined Accenture as a graduate, and sometimes what we study and what we tend to want to do after we study are two different things. Accenture, or the consulting industry itself, gives you exposure to a different variety of industries, job functions. You can get the exposure and the industry knowledge, as well as try and reinvent your career and whichever path that you want to take. So I studied supply chain and marketing, and now I find myself interested in finance and operations. So it's totally different. Consulting gives you that ability to, be flexible with your career as you go along. So yeah,
Nice.
That's my answer. Thank you.
Good answer. James, what's your advice?
I think it's no matter what offering you kind of see in technology, I think the one thing to go in off the bat is a very, very positive attitude and a willingness to learn. Those two attributes fuel consultants to levels beyond technical or industry understanding. And if you can at least do that in your first year, you've mastered one of the most important things about consulting, because consulting is largely about communication and good communication. You don't have to have all the talent straight away, but if you have that attitude and willingness to succeed and learn, that will propel you to the heights you need to be. And when that marries up with the technology or the industry understanding and the project experience, you'll be a formidable consultant in half a decade for sure.
Yeah. So true. Coming in as a grad, just have a good attitude and be open to learning, and the world's your oyster. Thanks, mate. Saurabh, what about from your perspective in terms of advice?
So I think students need to be ready to explore, learn new things, open for learning. Come with an open mind. And as I think Caitlin and James pointed out, there are so many things to learn because academics only provide as much, as a perspective. When you come to an industry, it's a completely different world out here. So be open to learn, come with an open mind, try and absorb as much as knowledge and learn, try and learn new skills, upskill yourself, and explore. I think that's the most important thing. Explore new industries, new type of work, different types of work.
Awesome. Thanks, Rob. By Bharti, probably quite hard to add to all those those good answers, but anything else to add from your perspective?
Yeah, you put me in a tough spot there, Taylor, but no, I completely agree with what my fellow panelists have said. They're all really good answers, especially James about communication. And just to add to that, I think the biggest one for me is to just be investigative. Consultants were constantly immersed into new contexts, new clients, new industries. That's the fun of it. Like, you don't want to be doing something that's the same for too long. But with that fun comes the challenge of learning, discovery. So I think you can inculcate those even before you start in the industry if you're keen on it, by just kind of staying across what's happening in large industries. If you're interested in automobiles, see what a Mercedes or a BMW are doing. Just kind of get accustomed to being investigative, see what's happening in terms of public policy, just so you're across technology trends. Yeah, just be investigative, be curious, and you'll be on the right track.
Nice. Thanks, Vaivafi. And I might keep it with you. We've got a good question here from Palvi. Apologies if I mispronounce that. But essentially, I'm a new student pursuing Masters of Commerce. What shall I do in these 2 years to make myself a better candidate for management consultancy? See, from your sort of graduate experience, you might be able to answer this one quite well.
Yeah, of course. So I think the first one, I'll just echo what I said before. Try and read as much as you can about literally everything you can, which is a big ask. But like I said, every project you might do as a consultant will be slightly different to the other. You might be working across completely different industries. So it's never going to harm you to read about what's happening in the world, in the business world, what's kind of happening with the largest organizations, what are trends. And I think you can do that, just reading 10 minutes a day is so useful, and you have a wealth of knowledge adds up. The second one, and all the consultants in the room will agree, PowerPoint and Excel also are really our bread and butter. So try and familiarize yourself with the features and just get really comfortable with those tools. They're literally the foundations. You'll be spending hours on them every single day when you're joining consulting. So the more proficient you are at them, the better placed you will be. And I think my third one is, it's a little tricky, but business writing is quite different to academic writing. And this was kind of one of my biggest struggles when I joined as a consultant. In university, you have this academic style of writing that you're pushed, but when you join the business world, it's very different. We don't want a 600-word essay saying, this is what I've done, this is it, and this is my final recommendation. It's completely flipped. So try to start writing in certain contexts where you can. What's your key message? And then build it up from there. So try and bring your key message first, and then the supporting arguments. Yeah. So I think those are my 3 key ones. Be investigative, get comfortable with Microsoft tools, especially PowerPoint, and try to deep dive into business writing.
Awesome. Three in one. Thank you. And Caitlin, you came in as a grad as well at Accenture. I might also ask you the same question in terms of what students should be doing in sort of like their first 2 years if they're studying a Masters of Commerce in particular.
Definitely everything that's been said is very vital. The communication, Excel, PowerPoint, Microsoft Suite. I don't think there's a day that goes by that I don't open an Excel or a PowerPoint, and multiple ones of that sort as well. Storytelling is very important. Being able to communicate high-level requirements and summarizing a whole page of research in basically 2 sentences is very important at the end of the day. So I think if everyone can work on storytelling, communication, being able to work Microsoft Suite and all other different platforms that you get your hands on, that would be very useful. And brushing up on problem solving skills as well. Thank you.
Nice. Awesome. Thanks, Caitlin. Sarab, I might ask you another question. In terms of applications, what is your organization looking for in an application, and what do students need to show to progress through to that next round?
In data analytics, we work at range of applications, whether it is visualization or data science or data engineering. A number of tools or number of applications could be required. For instance, if your interests obviously lie in the visualization side, you can look at Power BI or Tableau, to start off with. For data engineering and data science, you can of course start with learning, some of the Pythons of the world, and start looking at understanding data, because data analytics starts with how can you understand data, how can you make sense out of it. Can you extract? Can you manipulate? So really having basics of data, is the key here. Can you write SQL queries? Can you write the basics of some of that? I think that's one of the key skills that we look at. Everything else, can be learned along the way when you start, doing things. And and just echoing some of the other points which I think we mentioned, just be curious, willing to explore, learn, And very important on communication. I think people did mention some of that, ability to articulate, and that helps on data and analytics as well. When you see some of the problems, when you've identified, how can you summarize the problem? Can you articulate that problem for a business person to understand? And can you explain your solution and what you're coming up on the data side? Can you do that? That's the most important thing. A lot of people can understand data, can make sense out of it, but can you explain your solution and what you're seeing to the business person? I think that makes a lot of difference. So yes, applications are there, as I spoke about, but in addition to application, I think some of these softer skills and aspects are extremely important.
Yeah, nice, good advice, awesome advice. James, I might ask you the same question, mate. What's Capgemini looking for in a application, and what do students need to show to get through to that next round?
Well, inevitably, there has to be some sort of match with the skill set. And we do have a lot of offerings. We have a lot of service lines. So it's, we have quite a few different skills that we require and that we need to grow as a business. But, we try and look at the whole candidate. I think one thing that's an absolute prerequisite, at least in our case, is a passion for technology. It might, the hard skills might not be there already, but if we feel like the candidate has the enthusiasm and that we can grow that, then we are more likely to take them to the next stage. We're also looking, I think, for people. We're very engaged internally, and we have a lot of internal initiatives and internal projects and offerings. I think somebody who demonstrates a willingness to sort of give back to the business in a wider sense is probably someone that will be looked at a little bit further.
Awesome. Thanks, James. Caitlin, how about at Accenture?
Second James' sentiments, because Accenture is the same in the sense that besides our client work, we also have to be involved in a lot of extracurricular things, be it volunteering, giving back to the community, be it internal events just to bring together networking, bring together people to learn and collaborate. So if you are someone that's willing to learn, willing to go the extra mile and have that openness and that, want to learn, want to explore, that desire to dig deeper than what the face value is, you'd go a long way at Accenture or any consulting firm for that matter.
Yep, definitely transferable skills, those ones. Bharti, anything from you? Oh, bit of a feedback going on.
Yeah, thanks, Taylor. Again, not much to add with all the incredible answers.
Sorry for making you go last.
I'm not taking it personally. Okay. I think in terms of Sapient, we love technology. It's always great if someone comes in with their finger on the pulse and what's happening in the tech world. You don't have to have the technical skills necessarily, but we like our business consultants to know what's happening. So I think that's the first one. But essentially, we invite students from any background. So if you're interested in tackling tough challenges, if you like, uni experiences, if you like case studies where you're solving a key problem, that's essentially what we do on a day-to-day basis. So I think the kind of biggest capabilities we look for is just that willingness to learn, that passion to learn rather, and not just doing it because you need to do it, but because you want to. And the second is some kind of structured problem-solving skills. So when you see a problem, even though it might seem like a mammoth task, can you break it up into small parts and attack it one by one? Like that's really the two key skill sets, I'd say.
Nice, thanks, Bharti. And I might keep it on you so you can answer first this time. I've got a good question from Kevin. He asks, how does a great management consultant earn the trust of a new client company and workers from within said company? Quite a tough one.
Yeah, I'll say where I think I have earned the trust, I think it would be from collaboration. So I think clients and consultants are really known to collaborate with the clients in the different environments because, like I said before, we're constantly immersed into new contexts. So yes, we come with a wealth of knowledge, but we're not experts on the same client's kind of company, how their organization works, what their context is. So we really rely on working closely with the client, especially for the initial phases of your project. So we might call that, say, the discovery phase, where we're really just digging into what does the organization operate like? What is their way of working? What's their structure? How are the teams operating? So I think taking that time and effort to quickly but properly immerse yourself in the client context really goes a long way. And to do this, it's a lot of collaboration. So I think consultants are often the external, they're the third party that's coming in to basically recommend a business how they should go about their work. So it can be a little bit of friction there, but I think we earn the trust by bringing people along the journey with us. So when you're on a client project, even though you might have been hired by one team, you very often have to have workshops, have working sessions, have brainstorming sessions with a lot of other teams in the client organization, just so they feel like they're being part of the journey, that they're kind of co-designing what the final solution is to the problem with you. And I think that goes a long way in building trust.
Yeah, nice. Great. Threw you under the bus here a little bit, but awesome answer.
Ooh, we're done.
Yeah, it's some great questions coming through. Keep them coming through. I'll try my best to get to all of them. But Saurabh, I might throw to you for this next one. In terms of for students who do land a job at Genpact, what advice would you give them to sort of survive and thrive in that first year, and what shouldn't they do?
Yeah, great question. I think students coming in for the first year, I think they should just look to explore, try and learn as many new things, as many new skills as much as possible. I think only one objective should be there. How can you learn more and more? Another aspect could be, build connects. When you get into any new organization, I think what really helps you going forward is, how can you build more connects, and that should be another piece of advice that I'll give. So explore, build connect, build experience and skill set. So it should all be constructive kind of work in your first year. That will help you kind of gain new grounds and really thrive in any new organization.
Thanks, Saurabh. And Caitlin, started as a grad, so obviously you did thrive in that first year. What advice would you give to those students to survive and thrive in that first year, and what perhaps shouldn't they do?
I second, networking is vital in the consulting industry. That open-mindedness, willingness to learn, taking the initiative, not always sit back and wait for someone to tell you what to do, but show that extra initiative. When there's a problem that comes up, don't go with just your problem, go with a potential solution as well. I think what not to do would mainly be not to get overwhelmed. The industry is so big, it's so vast. We deal with so many clients, so many different products, business roles, you name it, it's there. And it can often get overwhelming when you're trying to find your feet in such a big global organization from an Accenture standpoint. So I found it very important not to get overwhelmed, to pace myself, focus on one learning opportunity at a time, and then, take it slowly and gradually learn. Because at the end of the day, yes, we are in this big pond with many fish, but we are the small fish in the big pond. We need to take it easy and stay at our level and not try to aim too high too quickly.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Caitlin. James, how about you, mate? Capgemini, what should students do who do land a job? What should they do to help them survive and thrive in that first year?
I agree with everything my other panelists said, but I might add one inkling. And I think taking it a slightly different direction, I think some grads are so eager to impress that they often overwork themselves and they ground themselves into dust in their first year trying to impress and do things that they're not that no human being is reasonably capable of doing in the time frame that they give themselves. So I would almost say one of the most important things to do is to look after yourself, because a lot of consulting is, as I say, it's about problem solving. And if you arrive at a problem, and you're more likely to solve it in a coherent way if you've looked after your mind and you've looked after your body. I think never forget these things. I know they're sort of more life fundamentals, but the more you look after your work-life balance, the more effective an employee you might be too.
Caitlin, so you raise your hand. Oh, I can't hear you.
Now can you?
Oh yeah, I can now.
Yeah, one more sentiment was just to be authentic, be yourself, because it's very easy to sniff out someone that's trying to be someone they're not, just to impress. So just be yourself, be authentic, and take it one step at a time, I guess.
Yeah, stay true to yourself is always great advice, whether it be work, whether it be personal. Awesome. Vaibafi, I might ask a good question coming in from Savira. Hopefully my pronunciation is all over the show today, but hopefully I pronounce that right. When applying for a consultancy company, what are the things they need to prepare for before the recruitment process?
Okay, good questions. Kind of before the recruitment process, the first thing is obviously your resume. So definitely keep, I think I can't stress this enough, consultants, we as a breed are stickler for detail, we're stickler for alignments, we're sticklers for errors. So I think the first kind of key piece of advice is try and perfect your resume as much as you can, review it once, review it twice, get someone else to review it. That's really, you want to make sure you're putting the best impression forward. To keep that really ready and strong to go. Another tip with your resume is try and show us the approach you've taken to solve problems as well as the outcomes you received rather than just the role that you played. I think that just really gives us a bit more flavor into what you've done. The second thing, and like a practical tip, is start preparing for what a typical kind of consulting recruitment process is. So at Sapient, you'll have a kind of behavioral interview first, which is where we try to get to know you. We try to find out what situations you've been in, what's been your background, experience. It's just a conversation. It's also for you to get to know us, of course. So we'd ask you a few questions on things like, tell me about a time where you've solved a problem. How did you approach it? What was the results? Tell me about a time you've I don't know, experienced conflict within the team. How did you resolve that? So we're just trying to understand your experiences and your background. So I think prepare for those kinds of situations, and Google has so many resources that can give you kind of the questions that you'd be asked. Also, before the recruitment process is get familiar with case interviews. I'm sure my panelists here will have similar approaches with their organizations, but we really like to see a good kind of case study response because that really takes us into how your brain works and how you logically structure things. So I think get familiar with how these operate because they can be slightly daunting, but again, there's a lot of resources. They're free on Google. There's a lot of videos. So I think familiarize yourself with that. And apart from just preparing for the recruitment process, like I said, get across what's happening in industry, find out what are kind of, key trends that you can speak about so that you've got kind of talking points. We like to hear if you're well read. We like to hear if you know what's new in technology, especially so stay across, have your finger on the pulse in terms of new developments.
Yep, Google's definitely a best friend, so utilize Google.
Resources.
Oh, I use it every day still to this day. Great question though. I might ask another question. I'm trying to get through all of them. There's so many that's coming through, so apologies if I do miss some of your questions, but we've got a good one from Rayhan in terms of, and Sarab, I might ask this one to you, mate. What advice would you give to non-business bachelor's degree graduates to get a foot in the door or a foot into the industry?
Yeah, no, great question there. For non-business, I think it's important to be kind of as authentic as possible. Don't try and show too many things that even though you don't have, you've kind of learned this and learned that. Focus on some of the key things that you can do in terms of any technology or anything that you've learned. Try and bring in, and we've done that in the past, and we've really liked when people try and bring in a fresh perspective, from wherever they've come from, and try and show that how a different perspective can help any problem or any business situation that's that arises. I think that's a key. And really be transparent. If you don't know certain skills, that's totally fine. You don't know, but how can you show that you're willing to learn, pick up on the key skills? I think most companies really look for attitude. How can you learn quickly, and your willingness to learn, as long as you have that, shouldn't really be a challenge. And if you can really show and prove that, how can your perspective coming from a really different background can help a given situation, I think that could be really useful. Hope that answers. I don't know.
That was
it was a tough question. But
yeah, sorry to throw you in the bus again. Bit of that happening today, but good day for it, I guess. James, I might ask you another question. Just seeing one come through the chat, and it's one of my prepared questions actually, so great minds think alike. But could you walk us through a bit of a typical day as an employee at Capgemini?
Well, largely, Taylor, it depends on where you work. We have so many different streams and so many different offerings that it can drastically differ depending on what role. But what might anchor us all to what a consultant does is we all are on projects usually, if we're lucky. We usually start the day, depending on what methodology we're using on the project. It might be structured in different ways as well. Usually the projects that I've been on the last half a decade or so have been, we have a morning meeting. We allocate responsibilities. We check on the status of certain parts of work. We might, if we're lucky, we might have a few hours to work after that, and then we might have a few other meetings that we have to go to. We do have lunch. Yeah, I can confirm that we have lunch, and we usually probably have a meeting within our certain work area, I would say, during the day, and we would probably also have one that had the whole project team perhaps towards the end of the day. And I'm using my past example of the blueprint. That order can change. It's not sort of set, but it gives you an idea of I suppose the order of things. If you're a business analyst, or if you're working in functional IT, which a lot of our consultants are, you'll also have meetings with the client, and depending on your role, you might be one-on-one, or you might be within a group. If you're starting out for the first time, you'll seldom be left alone with the client at Capgemini. However, in my case, I was, but I just learned to sort of swim that way. So yeah, I appreciate that's probably a little bit vague, but it can differ depending on what project you're on.
To be fair, it was quite a vague question, so gives a good idea anyway. And Caitlin, yeah, as I said, it's quite a vague question, but at Accenture, could you walk us through a typical day as an employee at Accenture?
Similar to what James said, it's filled with meetings from the time you start to about midday, and then you get a few hours to do your actual work that you have been assigned to. No 2 days are the same in consulting. So every day you could start off in the morning with a slow morning where there's no calls. You just have time to brush up on your task status updates, building decks for the clients, sorting out your deliverables, and then the afternoon could be jam-packed with meetings. I know at Accenture, we do have a lot of teams that comprise of both onshore and offshore. So we have to take into account the international time zone. So sometimes we have meetings at 6 o'clock just to account for like the India time or the Philippines time. But lots of meetings, lots of PowerPoints, lots of Excels, status updates, client meetings. Yeah, no 2 days are ever the same in consulting.
Keeps things interesting. Good way to spice up each day. There you go. Interesting stuff. Awesome. Vaibhavi, I might ask you another question. A good one here from Daniel. Just wondering what sort of growth opportunities are available at Publicis Sapient in particular. Are there many different directions a new graduate or intern can head in?
Ooh, good question. So like I've said before, the intro, we've got quite a few verticals within Publicis Sapient. So we've got the strategy and consulting team, which is kind of core business growth strategy, customer strategy, innovation. It's like what I find the most interesting because I work in it, so I might be biased. But we've also got the experience team. So that's kind of helping clients design what the customer experience is, what their strategy should be, what kind of user experience they should have. It's that bucket of things. We've got a product team, which is all about product design, product management. So these are usually digital products. And we've got an engineering arm finally, which kind of does the digital build and technology implementation. So when you come in as a graduate, you typically start in one of the four, and you might progress and do some rotations in terms of projects there, just so you understand the lay of the land and where you began. So I began in consulting. My first 2 years involved a lot of projects across different industries, from public sector, private sector, large firms to kind of more smaller firms. So you can understand how organizations of different scales operate. But in terms of growth opportunities, you can always move around the four kind of teams that we've got. But if you also choose to stay within one, you have a very kind of well-defined and quite a long and aggressive and quick pathway to progress. So even in our grad program within strategy and consulting, if that's what you choose to stay in, we've got promotion cycles every quarter for our graduates, just so we're kind of reviewing their performance, making sure they've got chances to progress quicker. Like if they need more support, we can kind of stay on top of that every 4 months. But typically it's kind of like you'll start as a junior associate when you come in as a graduate. You'll then progress to an associate where you might stay for roughly a year each, and then you'll move on to kind of associate level 2, senior associate. They're all kind of defined pathways. And there's also we consultants, as much as we work in ambiguity, we try to minimize it. So we've got quite clear kind of expectations that what is a junior associate expected for this capability versus what's a senior associate expected. So you can kind of map your progress, try to make it as clear as possible. But of course, you also have a manager that's assigned to you, you have buddies, you have a whole network that you'll build, and they can always support you in your progression. But there's a lot of options essentially.
Awesome, exciting. So Rob, I might ask you the same question, mate. What sort of career opportunities are available at Genpact?
So Genpact provides a wide range of opportunities. So we work across verticals, and of course there are service lines within which run across these verticals. So it's kind of a matrix structure, and then there are roles within the delivery organizations and these service lines. So when a graduate person joins, usually assigned on projects, and then kind of move on to different projects within the industry vertical, and then provided rotations with other service lines or other vertical as the interest and inclination would be. So within the first year or few quarters, you kind of tend to form a view about what a person does well or likes, and so on, which is, so your next project or a role is usually a function of what you are good at and what we think you're doing well at. So it's both a combination. So we then provide the different roles and different projects, and you're assigned to that. In terms of career growth, and I can speak for myself, spent a number of years. So you kind of come through the ranks. The thing with Genpact is provides such a wide diversity of roles, within the different verticals, that each role provides you something new to learn and an opportunity to grow. So yes, I think really great opportunities to grow depending on what your interests in the different vertical, what you like doing. You can make so many career choices, and really help you navigate through that and rise up in the organization. Yes, and on the promotion cycles as well, promotions happen every quarter. There are performance evaluations which kind of keep happening, but yes, formal appraisals are half yearly and full year, but then promotions are planned for every quarter. So fast growth. If you are really performing well, you're on a growth trajectory. It can really happen fast.
Perfect. Thanks, Rob. Great opportunities by the sounds of it. And I might, conscious of time here, got about 2 minutes left, so I might just go around the virtual room, nice and short and sweet, bit of a 1 or 2 sentences why students should apply for your organization. Caitlin, I'll throw it to you first.
If you're looking for a company that values its employees, has great benefits, but mainly allows you to continuously grow through learning and first-hand experiences, I'd say Accenture is definitely the place to be.
Short and sweet, love it. James, how about you?
People come to Capgemini for the opportunity. They stay for the opportunities they get internally, and also for our culture. We growing at a tremendous rate, especially in Australia and New Zealand. And I think in terms of, we have world-class L&D, we have wonderful opportunities for graduates, and some of our graduates are now in management positions by no accident. So I'd encourage you to get in touch with me if you would like to know more.
There you go, get in touch. Bharfi, how about you? Short and sweet.
I'll speak my personal one. Why I think Sapient is one of the best places to work is because of the exposure we give graduates. So you'll be exposed to so many different industries, clients, project types. There is quite literally no closed door at Sapient. Even our MD is just always on the floor with us. You can tap anyone on the shoulder. We're more than happy to help. We actually love a chat, so please do tap us on the shoulder if you join. But in terms of exposure, we're also very fond of putting our graduates in the real world. So expect in your first 6 months with us to be in meetings with CEOs, board members, and I think that's the best way to learn. So join us for the exposure.
Nice. Rob, got about a minute, mate. Nice and short and sweet.
Yeah,
Hand it to you.
Yeah, I think Genpact provides, just for the sheer diversity of the type of challenges and the type of industries and work that you can do, provides great learning opportunities and to grow and upskill yourself. I think that's really our USP. It provides real opportunity for you to interact with great senior leaders, with clients, with diverse range of challenges and environment. With the startup culture environment that we have, I think it makes a great place to work with.
Perfect. Awesome. Oh, well, that's a bit of a wrap. Thanks to all the panelists for sharing some awesome feedback. And for the students, it's worth noting this session is recorded too, and we'll be sending out afterwards. So if you've joined a bit late or you want to recap a few things, then feel free to just look out in your inboxes and we'll send it through. But yeah, huge thank you. And thanks for joining us on the panel.